There is something innately soothing about the flow of ink on paper, and it lets me manifest my personal artistic style.
Today, I talk with Telisa. She's a calligrapher, business owner, and mother, and we talked about how you can create a business out of your passion, how you can become financially independent even if you don't know how to price yourself, and how to create a strong personal brand without compromising any part of your personality. So, inshallah, if you're an artist, this is a must listen and must watch. Grab your pen and paper, grab your notes, and if you cannot, make a screenshot from this episode and come back to it because she really shares a lot of technical advice for how to start your business and how to create a strong personal brand. Inshallah, I love this episode so much and I hope you love it too.
Could you introduce yourself in 30 seconds?
My name is Telisa. I am from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I am a calligrapher. So that means I'm an artist. I create beautiful things for weddings and events. I have been collabing with big companies or small companies, and I love doing it. It's my passion, and I'm very, very passionate about my branding because I work a lot to get to where I am and knowing what my branding is. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
Nice. Thank you so much. First of all, where did the art come from? Where did the work itself come from? And then what is really the meaning behind your brand itself?
When I came up with Roesseinart, I started long time ago. This was 7 years ago. I started as a digital portrait painting. I've always been an artist my whole life, but I couldn't find something that I was really passionate and never got bored of until I started calligraphy and lettering. Like I started about a year ago when I was on my mat leave, and I started with the name Roesseinart. Roessen isn't actually my last name. It's actually a combination of my last name and my husband's last name.
Oh, wow.
Reason being is he's always been very supportive of my art from the get-go. He's always like asking me, do you want to pursue this full-time? Do you want to pursue this full-time? I didn't. I was in HR for a long time. And in terms of the branding in calligraphy is a premium service, right? It's a bespoke. It's something that's one of a kind. It's not like a quantity-based sort of service. So I wanted my brand to stand out as a luxury service where I provide appreciation through beautiful handwriting by sending message.
That's beautiful. But so, how did you come from the portrait to the calligraphy then?
Oh, honestly, I've tried so many different art forms. So I used to do painting a lot. And it was just, and I did a lot of graphic design when I was doing my corporate job, even though I was in HR. I just started calligraphy when I started playing around with my iPad again. Mm-hmm. And I was doing digital lettering. Mm-hmm. But I was always intimidated by calligraphy because there's so much, there's a lot of rules in calligraphy, and then it takes a while to get the gain muscle memory. And eventually I rebranded my artistic form into just calligraphy and lettering.
So when did you take the leap really coming from, because you said you worked in HR for a long time and then you had to take the jump to, doing this full time. How did that come?
So I started calligraphy business last year when I was on mat leave. I started as a self-care routine. And then I kept going on and doing it, and I started getting projects and inquiries that people wanted to pay me. And then I decided that maybe I should create a website. And then I look at the possibilities of what can I do to make money based on the calligraphy. And there's a lot of ways that I can do. And it was just something that I could not stop thinking about. So when I went back to work after mat leave, which was last year, it's almost a year ago actually, in September, I just wanted to do calligraphy. Even though I had passion for HR at that time, I just really lost it. I just wanted to keep doing this. I'm like, I know there's a lot that I can do. And what pushed me, I did research, right? I did research market. I saw there was a need of calligraphy in weddings and events, and it's a high ticket price kind of service.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you said actually you started it as a self-care practice. Did you have at any point in time the fear that you would kind of ruin this practice or the love for it when you make it into a business?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of every artist feel that way, even if they've been in the industry for many years, because once you're being paid for it, it becomes work, right? Definitely, like I had that. I'm like, what if I'm gonna hate it? And then this, like the same other things that I did before, like the portrait digital, like I loved it, and I started hating it once people asking for me to do it for them. But what I do to maintain my creativity outlet is sometimes I have my passion project as well. So I've collabed with my really good friend who's a photographer, and she's also in the wedding industry. So what we do is we meet um, quite often, create some beautiful flat lays of with my calligraphy and some beautiful props. That's how I keep it going with my creative outlet. And when I do that, we post on our social media platform and tagging all these big brands and hoping to get featured. So that's one way to keep my creativity outlet going without having to feel, oh, it's another project, even though I love all my projects, but you know what I mean? So it's very important to have that,
Yes,
to do
it
that
is.
as well. Yeah.
Because I think there comes this pressure with wanting to make it work, especially because it's your passion and because you love it and it's kind of this practice. But then at the same time, there comes this huge pressure and amount of accountability in it when you turn it into a business. And I was
Yeah,
so
for sure.
excited. Actually, I was so excited to speak to you because there were some sisters who texted me on our social media platforms asking, you know, how can they turn their art into a business? And as I did not yet have experience with turning really art and making something that is artistic, but then turning it into product or service, I really wanted to get someone on that, you know, knows really how to create this journey from the bottom, from the passion to the financial independency. So what kind of tips could you share with artists that would like to become financially independent with their creations?
So I do have a lot of tips for that. So one is not being afraid to know and how to apply the business and marketing. So 70% of my time, I deal with business and marketing part. So what I mean about that is I consume a lot doing I'm always updating my website, and I'm always looking into what's the trend right now, and I do content planning. So I only create probably about 30%, 20% of my time. A lot of times I'm marketing myself either through social media, word of mouth, or and I took a lot of class in terms of how to market myself. So the business part, the marketing part, and secondly is knowing your target market. You want to know who your ideal client is. The more specific, the better. If you're too broad, that means that you're still not confident with what you're doing in your business. So you want to know what your clients, what do they hang out, what do they like, and you need to know what they're thinking ahead of time and be ahead of the game. And so I talked about the website earlier. You also want to know about SEO. So really, really do research and apply it. What I do to get myself to be easily found on Google is I list myself on Google, and I name all my images with keywords that people would have, with keywords that they would search. Like a lot of times they find me through like Toronto calligrapher, and then mine pop up, and that's how you want to rename your images.
Okay, so just to give a little bit of context here, SEO means search engine optimization. Can you just make it, you know, understandable for creatives what it really is, how it benefits your business?
So the thing is that we're in a world of Google and internet, so everybody wants to find you, and you want to be able to be searched easily. So with that search engine optimization, once you have website, the first thing that you want to do before you deal with the SEO, you want to build a website. The market on Etsy is very saturated. highly saturated, and the shipping is very expensive. So it's really hard to you to brand yourself an Etsy seller, because once people find you on Etsy, your brand is an Etsy seller. But when you have a website, you have your own brand, and people will likely come to you because your authentic style and your branding, right? I mean, I'm not saying that Etsy seller doesn't work. It does work. Definitely it does. Sometimes people use that to get traffic to your website, as well as Pinterest.
But
So
that
that's
goes
very
back to the
important.
audience as well, right? Like you want to know your audience. That means you
Yeah.
need a home where your audience can. It's like having people for dinner. Like you're not going to make friends if you don't invite them and you meet them personally and you kind of get to know them. So if they come to your website, you get to know them. You can see the data behind it. They kind of comment. They always know where you are, rather than social media, which always changes.
Exactly.
Keep going, SEO.
So, and think about that. People browse, they only spend about 2 minutes max per website. So your homepage has to be easily attractive, like all repel people that you don't want to hire, right? It doesn't have to attract everybody. You cannot please everybody, but you want to work with people that you want to work with, your target client. So you want to be clear about your business and your authenticity and who you want to serve. So that's really important.
How did you build your website? Because you said either you can build it yourself or you can work with someone.
I use Squarespace. It's very easy platform because you just drag and drop. And I literally, the only thing that I do is the wordings that I have, when you read it, it sounds like I'm speaking to you. So it's very important to have that intimacy. That's my style though. Like it depending on what artists prefer. I just like being authentic myself. So I like to refer myself as I, not we, because I'm running everything myself.
And you actually are speaking personally, because I told you earlier, I love the video that you have on your platform, because you actually have like a small video snippet, and you should all go to Telisa's website. It's so beautiful. You have a small video snippet where it kind of shows you at events and you drawing, crafting your art. And then in the background, it's really this deeper connection to you of understanding why you love doing it, what is the intention behind your brand, which really in your own voice, which makes it really, really relatable and intimate.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had a videographer to capture all of that. He reached out to me saying like, hey, do you want to have a video? And I say like, yeah, I've been thinking about it, but I don't know how to present it. And because he's been doing it for so many times, he's like, just be yourself, authentic. And then it happened to be the time when I was doing the Ramadan market in Toronto, Canada, that he was able to capture my interaction with clients, me doing the craft, as well as me teaching. So it was like overall everything that I do all in one video of like a minute. So yeah, it's all about knowing who to work with and how to work with and how you market yourself. And it works for me so far. The key is to be authentic. Like, don't try to be someone else. Just how do you like you're comfortably presenting yourself.
Why do you think that's so important?
It's important because one, it's easier, right? Being authentic. Two, it's like you want to be easily remembered. To me, I think like I follow a lot of lettering artists that talks about the business, or any other artists that talk about business, how to market yourself. And a lot of them all say, just be authentic yourself, show your perkiness, show like everything about you. Like I tell people that I'm also a Zumba instructor, that I care about wellness, I care about ergonomic, blah, blah, blah. And I like to share my behind the scenes. And people love that, because I'm a real human being.
Okay, so I actually interrupted you, and
That's okay.
there's already so much value in this podcast. I'm loving it, and I hope people are taking notes. So let's go back to SEO. So you say how do you become financially independent as an artist? You say first of all you need the traffic, you need to know your audience, and then how do you apply your SEO? So you say, for example, you name your images, and that's especially important for artists, I imagine.
So the first thing that I did, and this is completely out of fluke, I actually Google my own company, and then, or like I Google Mississauga calligrapher, right? And then this list of very few people show up on Google Maps. and then if you scroll all the way down, it says, do you find anything that's not listed?
Found this on Google.
Sorry. My Google just showed up, sorry. And then it says like add any list. So I added myself, and then the Google associate called me to confirm about my business. My business, and I confirmed it. And then he walked through everything I need to know on how to manage it, and it's all for free.
That is
It's
so
free.
cool.
Yeah.
I did
No,
not
I don't know
even
why.
know. So
Yeah.
Google Associates call you directly?
Yeah. After I list my business, it's like,
And they
hey, I
give you free
found.
consulting.
Yeah, just free consult. Let me know if when you have time for an hour, and then he like walked me through how to use the Google Manager. So I see statistic. I see which pictures that shows the most, and how many people visit my website. What keywords do people use to find me? And so that's, and then because of that, and I also like have links on my website and whatnot. And it works because of my service is location based. So I'm serving GTA and Toronto, and that's what people usually search, because I don't think I would be working anywhere outside of that area, because of the nature of my service. So it works a lot. So if any artist out there wants to be working locally, that's the first thing you want to do. List yourself on Google Maps. And then obviously once you have that website, you want to add that description where there is a description of how you want to be found. The same thing, like use the keywords that people would want to find you. Like for me, it's Mississauga, Toronto calligrapher. That's how mine pop up. And again, renaming all images. I know it seems like a lot the first time, but once you do that as a habit, it becomes really easy. So for me, I name all my images Toronto _ calligrapher _ the item that the service that I use, like mirror calligraphy, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very active on Instagram, even though 90% of my client find me through Google. Instagram helps too with the traffic. If you notice the LinkedIn in bio, I don't use 3 links. So on Squarespace, for my website, there is an unlink page where you can create a page to add links. So if you go on my Instagram, if you click on my links, it'll take you to actually a page of my website that you cannot see. So when you use your unlinked through website, as opposed to 3 link, when people click on the link on Instagram, it drives traffic to your website, and you want to have that
direct traffic. So the minute I click on the link, I'm on your website. Okay.
Basically, yeah. Nice. And another ways is you can also do blogging. I haven't done that, but it's been in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. Blogging is also another way to drive traffic. And the thing is that when blogging is a good idea too, because you're basically providing knowledge, right, to the public. And when people see like, oh, this person knows about this because this person writes a blog about it, they'll likely hire you for that reason. Because she's an expertise, so I'm just gonna hire her because I can't do it myself. So that's a good way to get business as well. There's so many different ways, but those are the one of the ways that I've been constantly doing.
Why do you think has it been important that you are the face of your brand?
I think it's important to people to see who the artist behind it, especially because I get hired by companies to do on-site, where I do calligraphy personalization for their clients. Say they bought something and then they want me to personalize it. It's very important for big companies to see who they're hiring, because that person is going to be on the table in front of them, right? They want to see like friendly faces. And that's why it's really important for me to show myself, my personality. And it's also very important in general to show yourself, because it kind of gains trust, right? Like, I know who this person is. I know her personality. It's like, I know you, but I've never met you. but I trust her because she's showing all of this stuff. She's showing all her knowledge. She's showing all the behind the scenes. And when you have trust, you get sales.
That is very true. But I want listeners to understand, like, you are not there on Instagram putting your life out, you know, talking about your family and what you have for breakfast. Like, you do it in a very professional manner. And I find that very important because I know a lot of girls and sisters are out there trying to build a brand, and they think they have to be the face of the brand, which, like you say, it builds trust. I think there are many ways to do it without showing your face as well. You know, you can wear a cap. I think the most important thing is your voice. Like, if you, for example, if I would have the same stories, the same kind of, you know, calligraphy pictures on your site, and you would still be yourself and talk the way you talk, I would still connect to you. But then also, if you want to do the in between, like, you want to show your face, but you don't want to show too much of your life. You don't want to put yourself too much out there. This is kind of the balance that you are creating. Do you have some tips for sisters that are just fearful or have self-doubt and putting themselves out there?
I actually do know an interior designer who never show her face, but she always use voice. And she shows all her tips. I think it's really important to use Instagram stories to represent your authenticity. You don't have to show your face. You can create, like, you can even just show like hands, or I don't know, or showing whatever it is that you want to create as an artist. So what she does is, her name is Nimi Style. She shows a lot of tips on how to do DIY, and they are very, very resourceful. And that's another way. Like, you, even if you don't want to show your face, it's fine. But if you're showing your knowledge, that's another way of basically showing part of your branding. Because now you become an expertise, right? So I think it's really important to show that behind the scene, and but you don't want to show too much, where I find that, like, when someone has Instagram, so it's like that looks like dots, and I just kind of skip it. So you want to maintain, you don't want to show too much to the point that it's like, it's not relevant anymore, or you just kind of rambling on talking about a lot of stuff. It, like, I usually skip those. And it's really important if you don't want to show, but you can also add captions, right? You can type it up. I always add caption because a lot of times I don't have my speaker on, and, you know, some moms, like, we're really busy, so we just want to read it. We don't want to have to turn on, or like you're in the area where, like, you don't want people to hear what you're listening to, right? So caption is also very important. So you don't really have to show your face. There's many other ways, but as long as you show up, showing your brand, showing what you're doing, I think that's good enough. Showing what you're doing that's relevant to your business, not like too much. I don't show much of my personal stuff, maybe just a little bit here and there, but not too much, because I don't want to get that dotted sharing too much, right? Yeah.
But I love that, because a lot of people say and think a personal brand is about putting your all personal life out there.
No, yeah.
How would you define actually a personal brand?
For me, my personal brand would be, well, the thing is that for me, I'm more about appreciation. I love helping people. So my personal brand is always about helping others, helping others to feel appreciated. So my followers on Instagram are two types. So either fellow calligraphers or people who like pretty things. So the people who are fellow calligraphers, I share a lot of my knowledge because I want to help them. I want to help them grow. How do I do this part of the business? Blah, blah, blah. And then the people who just love pretty things, they're usually the one who ended up hiring me. What was I going to say? I like to share tips just to see that, like, the quality work that I do it's a high ticket price because of all these things that I have to do to create one project. So when I do behind the scene, it served both ways. It served my fellow calligraphers and also the people who like pretty things. So they appreciate high art form.
Yeah.
And my personal brand, it's through that. It's how I share my message, how I like to use a bit of a comedy, because I like to be funny. I'm a big fan of romantic comedy, so when I show something, it usually has that romantic feels, like the Victorian look and whatnot. But I also like to add a little bit of humor. That's what my personal brand is. But in a way, but I'm actually like, it's in the phase where people would likely ended up booking me because I'm showing all of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. That's so important, because I think if you turn your personal brand into a real business, it's so beautiful to look at yourself and be like, who am I? What are my personality traits? What makes me special? What do people like about me? What do I like about me? And then putting these characteristics in your brand and reflecting it through that. So that's very, very, very beautiful. And I can see it in that you also share quotes that are inspirational and that I would look at. Even, I mean, I love pretty things, but I'm not a calligrapher, and I love inspiring things. So I would go to your episode and to your Instagram just to get inspired as well.
Yeah, I actually started doing quotes for practice, and I still do it just to kind of, again, like showing my personality, what I love. I mean, okay, so in my background, in my HR corporate job, like one of the things that I was doing, I was also the head of health and wellness. So quotes, empowering quotes like that, it's one of my favorite things. I mean, right now, I'm just like writing it pretty. And people who love pretty things love that. And eventually, because of that, the things that I do, I ended up collabing with other local artists and makers. So either way, you get business, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you about this. How, why and how do you use collaborations to fuel your brand?
So I've only collabed with smaller, big companies that have the same target market that I am. So I'm very picky on that. So it's very important because you want to keep your brand strong as it is, right? So I the other brands with other sisters that I've had, like Inti First and whatnot, I see that they so one of the sister, she does like wellness subscription box. Like, again, I'm all about wellness and I do like a lot of quotes. So she reached out to me to let her something for the subscription. They recently actually just featured me as one of the artists, and it aligned to me. So like it helps me because her target market is the same as mine. So eventually her clients became my clients too. Right? So you want to make sure there's an alignment. And other different kind of collaboration is with my photographer, who's my very, very dear friend of mine. She's like my best friend because she's in the wedding industry. She has clients, I have clients, we refer each other. Like, do you need a photographer? Do you need a calligrapher? So we always refer to each other, but we also work together creating beautiful things. And both our followers see that, and they see our collaboration, they just appreciate that. And they, a lot of times, it's been like sometimes where we have the same clients.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of times I hear collaborations in a form of like what you said, we have a shared audience, we want to tap into each other's audiences, or have some kind of value to add to her content or whatever. But this is what I find really, really interesting. You are the add-on. Like, basically you don't compete, you just add on to each other. And you can collaborate in a way that you can create something very different. So it's not A and A talking about A, it's like A and B creating C.
Exactly.
That is a very nice way to look at it.
When I work together with other artists, like photographer or videographer, the things that we come up with, it's like, wow, we came up with this. So it's beautiful. Like I highly recommend that you collaborate. Either, like, for me as a calligrapher, I do style shoots. So I would work together with vendors like the wedding planners, the photographer and like the decor, the floral,
Mhm.
and then the photographer who capture everything. It just, and you see the result. It's like, it's beautiful. Like and also because when you collab, you know each other, you work together. Now you're comfortable to refer each
Mhm.
other's business.
Mhm.
So
That's major. So,
yeah.
can you give me the technicalities behind creating these collaborations? Like, do you get to know the people in person, and then you kind of just like meet each other
Mhm.
naturally, or do you approach them directly on the internet, or how does it work?
So the ones that I've done so far, I've met the person in person. And then we talk about possibilities and we share each other Pinterest board. So once we have the mood board, so we met first, and then we just do the discussion of the mood board online, and then we reach out to other vendors like the floral that we know, and or the model. And once we have that, we schedule the time, and then once the photo shooting happened, and we just basically we meet up each other again, and then we have that vision create and help each other. And so it's a collaborative effort. The face to face is very important to do that, because you want to have to deliver your products too, right? um yeah. So, and I've never actually reached out to other I've never actually reached out to collab. So I've usually been asked to collab, but the people who have asked me have known me personally. Either I've worked together with them, or they've referred to me for a client.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to have that personal level of connection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so second last question. As we're coming to an end, what are the things that you would have loved to know before you started your business?
I wish I knew how to price my service, because like
Favorite topic. Nobody ever likes to talk about money or pricing.
yes.
So spill the tea.
So I obviously underpriced myself by a lot, because I had no idea. Like, again, calligraphy is a very new service and nobody shared their price. So I just kind of came up with something based on my hourly rate at corporate. But it turned out that it should be very different, because corporate is like a stable income, right? But when you're an artist, you have to think about the admin stuff, everything else that you're doing. So your hourly rate has to go way high. So one lettering artist in our industry, she came up with panic-free pricing guide. Her name is Becca from the Happy Ever Crafter. She's on Instagram. She shares a lot of knowledge, which could be applicable to other artists as well. And I bought the guide.
What is pricing?
So she came up with a pricing guide for calligrapher and lettering artists.
Nice.
And it's very, very long. And because there's so many types of service that we can provide using our skills, right? So she came up with a sample of the very minimum hourly rate, which is $30 per hour. That's the very minimum. But then you have to think about the supplies that you have to use, and then the taxes and all that. My rate has gone all the way up, like more than triple that hourly rate, because of experience, right? But I didn't. The first time I did it was even lower than that, because I had no idea. So she came up with the formula how to come up with your hourly rate, and using the tools that you provide for workshops or on-site or different project. So because of that, now I know. It just came out, I think, about 2-3 months after I started my business. But now I'm actually charging appropriately.
Nice. Do you have clients that come back? So was it weird to suddenly, up the price, or was it just naturally, okay, setting my standards higher this time?
Yeah. So I have a lot of returning clients, and I mentioned that I'm like, so the first time, usually when I have a new client, I tell them that my rate is only applicable for the next 3 months.
Okay.
Because in the next 3 months, I've developed my skills again, right?
That is so interesting.
Yeah. So once if they come back to me for another project, they will still ask, what's your rate for this? And then I'll up the price. So it's really important to mention that, like, it's only applicable. Like, if someone want to book you for next year, then, well, I tell them this is my rate now, but in the next year it's going to change.
Yeah.
So then they'll know the expectation that, I mean, it's only fair, because the more time that you do the same project, the better that your work is. So I think it should reflect on the value of your service.
Also, you're always developing, I hope so, inshallah. You're always developing yourself, whatever you're doing, you're taking
for sure, yeah.
to improve your own skills, you attend workshops, you talk to people, even the time that you spent in educating yourself on the ground without really spending money directly, like that's something that it does. And time is money, or time is actually something, it's the only thing that you can never get back. And I think a lot of sisters, no matter where we are, we always have this problem of pricing ourselves to the standard we actually hold. And do you have some mindset skills that you apply when you're just like, oh, okay, but I need to set my standard higher, but I'm kind of...
Yeah. So for me, one of the things that's mentioned in a guideline, which I've been applying, is they either pay full price or for free. But even if you give them for free, I still give them invoice to see how much it's actually worth, so they know how much it's worth. The thing is that when you give something discounted, especially for something that's like a service, it's a one of a kind, it will reflect the quality of your work, and people will see like, oh, it's actually worth this much, when it's not. And when you're not being paid properly, you will resent creating it. And then and if you get so many inquiries because you're lowballing yourself, you're gonna end up hating it. You're gonna end up like, I have so many projects, but like I'm being underpaid. It's gonna reflect on the quality of your work, and then your client's gonna see that, and they're gonna be like, oh, she's doing everything half-ass, part of my language, and then they're not gonna come back to you. So it's just gonna hurt you, your clients, your business, your branding. You don't want that. So even if I've never had anyone haggling my worth. They usually like, oh, it's out of my budget, and I'd be like, okay.
Duh. It's also what it comes back to what you said earlier. You don't want everyone as your audience. You pick a very specific audience.
Yeah, very specific. Like with me, like the more that I'm in the business, I know the clearer my client target is. I used to think that like, oh, big weddings are like, probably they're gonna pay me, but they won't actually think of calligraphy as a priority for as opposed to those who have small weddings. So I stopped targeting big weddings. I target small weddings now, because small wedding, it's usually the brides and the groom, they know the guests. When they know the guests, they want to appreciate them, and I help them appreciating their guests. Whereas big weddings, they probably don't even know the guests. I had a big wedding. I had 350 people. I don't know, probably 90% of them. Wow. Right? So these are not my target market. So they usually go with like prints, or like no seating chart, like no welcome sign. It's just people coming in. Whereas people who have small wedding, they like really prioritize about the details. Like, I really want to appreciate my guests who came to my big day. Yeah. Those are the people that come to me.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. What are actually the services and products that you offer yourself? Because I want to know the range of things that a calligrapher can do, and then give inspiration for artists to, broaden their horizon as well.
Don't try to please everybody. So what I do is I'm mostly in a wedding or events. So in terms of wedding, I do signage. I do like the welcome sign, seating chart, anything that has to do with space. And I like to go beyond paper, like the place card. And and for events, I love doing on-site, because I like meeting with people. So I partner with brands for their brand activation, and I would personalize whatever item they gave me, and then their guests would basically keep it as a keepsake. Sorry. So I've worked with brands like Cliff Bar. I've worked for the TIFF as well, the Toronto International Film Festival, and some private VIP events. And coming up, I'll be partnering with Holt Brand Brew, inshallah, and like all this like luxury brand. And again, they have the same target market as me. They like quality, not quantity. They like personalization. They like appreciation.
Last question. What are the top skills and mindsets that helped you to build a brand that anyone else can apply?
Just be yourself. Like literally, that's all I'm doing. Just be yourself. Don't try to please everybody. That's the very important mindset. And also, there is a lot of artists out there, but your only competition is yourself. You can be inspired by other local artists, but you shouldn't feel like it's a competition. I am friends with some local calligraphers. She has a different style than me, and she's also her branding is just very different. But it doesn't stop us from being friends. If anything, if I'm double booked, I would refer the service to her. So I think it's really important to have abundance mindset than scarcity. So when you have an abundance mindset, the possibility of you going far in your business is limitless. Like it's but if you feel like, oh, I don't want to share this knowledge because I don't want them, they're gonna like do the same thing, it's gonna be competition, like stop that. Like it won't take you anywhere. When you're trying to hold something that anyone else can learn, people don't see you as an expertise anymore, first to begin with. And it's just like, why? Okay, if you think about this, like there's so many doctors, like there's not enough doctors. One doctor cannot deal with all patients. It's the same thing with artists. I can't do all projects. So, but when you have a friend, once it helps you growing and then sharing each other tips in the business part as well as the artistic part. And you also can get sales from it because you guys are referring to each other, right? So it's really important to have that abundance mindset.
Nice.
I can't think of anything else, but yeah.
No. Be yourself. Don't try to please everyone and have an
Yeah, exactly. Don't try to please everybody.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing this to these. How we end this podcast is you can ask a question to the audience that can have to do with something that we talked about or not. So you ask a question and they answer it in the comments, inshallah.
Okay, well, this is one thing that I always do. Every week, I always write down my wins. So I'm going to ask you, what's your win today? And how can you get more wins and how can you improve yourself? Celebrate that wins and tell me what your goal next week is.
I love that. Yes, inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, inshallah.
Of course.
And don't forget, the real deal is going on at sharediversity.com. Jump on the newsletter, comment below this episode, and share your diversity with us. If you enjoyed this episode, like and share it with your friends, and make sure to rate and review us on iTunes so we can keep creating content that is relevant to you. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.